All right, so we are here for this Winter League podcast after we just wrapped up the first Sunday of the LILJ High School Winter League a few days ago. I'm Ellis Joshua and joined alongside, as always, by Coach Wink. Coach Wink, how are we doing here this afternoon?
I am fired up, as you know, from spending so much quality time together. We're like an old married couple by now. The amount of time you and I spend together between Sunday, what was 5:30 in the morning till 11 o'clock at night or something.
Yeah, we're a package deal at this point. I think people would be very surprised to see one of us at one place without the other right by our side.
Well, I couldn't think of a better young man to spend my Sundays with or any days. And I'm looking for one of the great things, as you know, about the Winter League is we get an opportunity to see all these kids from all these great high schools. And, kind of like a prelude to the high school season. And I know today we're going to pretty much talk on this podcast about the girls' games because we haven't seen all the boys' teams. They're playing tomorrow night. So we'll do that on Friday. And I guess you'll get that out to the world on Friday. I guess that's how you want to do it.
Yeah, I think that's a good game plan to follow.
All right, cool. Well, I guess I'll let you, start, and then I'll take over once you ask your questions.
Yeah, so of course, with this Sunday being the first day of the Winter League and a lot of moving parts going on, every team's first game dealing with check-in and jersey distributions and all that stuff, making sure all the rosters and everything is buttoned up. You were more handling that aspect from an operational standpoint and didn't get to see too much of the actual lacrosse going on the field. But considering everything that you were encountering on that first Sunday, maybe just kind of talk about some of the things that you observed throughout the day as teams were rolling in throughout the course of that first Sunday.
Yeah, well, the first game was obviously started at 7 a.m., so it started early. And I was really excited to see all the kids. We hadn't seen the kids in a while. Obviously, we see them sporadically in the fall. But, in one day, we saw, 22 games. So is that right? 22 games? Crazy, right?
Yeah, there were 22 games on the schedule.
Okay, so 22 games. So it's 44 teams. So, I was excited to see everybody and all the kids and stuff. I was a little taken back, to be honest with you, and I wanted to talk about this. And I think it's important because I think if we're going to be doing our job, part of it is to help these kids get recruited, but more importantly, help them grow, as human beings. And I saw some things that I was a little upset about, to be honest with you. I think our parents and the parents will realize that we're here to help, but they need to just let go a little bit. They're in a very safe environment. They need to allow their children to check themselves in, walk up to the counter, make sure that their jersey number is correct. There's a little bit too much hand holding, babysitting. Some people call it helicopter parenting. I don't call it helicopter parenting because, as you and I know, because you know me real well, you raise your kids at an early age to be, self-sufficient. Okay, a lot of the youngest kid there, I think the youngest kids were 7th graders. The oldest kids were seniors. So what is that? 13-year-olds to 18-year-olds.
Mm-hmm.
I would think that a 13-year-old can walk up to a check-in and say, "Hey, Coach Wink, I'm Ellis Joshua. I'm on team LILJ. I'm number 16. Nice to see you." And I can say, "Oh, I got you at 16. Good job. Good luck today. Have fun." A lot of parents helicoptering over the kids. A couple parents showed up and their kids didn't even come. And I'm like, "Where's your kid?" "Oh, she's right here." What do you think the benefit is of you doing it for your child? Like, I'm curious from a parent standpoint. Do you not? I mean, we already have a society where the phone is in your kid's face all day long and their communication skills are much diminished because they don't communicate unless it's with their thumbs. So if that's the case, wouldn't you want this opportunity to get their face out of the phone and allow them to do this? And it's a growth. I always look at life as these are growth potential things. Little things in life. Go up, introduce yourself to Coach Wink, tell him who you are. I don't think I'm a scary guy. Do you, Ellis?
No, not at all. You are far, far from scary. One of the
I mean,
most one of
at
the
the
most
end of the
outgoing,
day,
genuine
thank you. I
people.
appreciate that you don't think I'm scary. But at the end of the day, as a parent, aren't you helping your kid? You're a young man. I know you're not a dad yet, but I mean, did your mom wipe your ass till you were 22 years old?
No, not at all.
I mean, we worked together because you were proactive in start doing an internship and killing it and then getting a full-time gig from it. Right? I never met your mom until I knew you for a couple of years.
Yeah, it was definitely a couple years after I had interned with the LALJ for sure.
Yeah, so at the end of the day, parents, don't you realize these are opportunities to allow your child to grow? Okay? Allow them to grow. The other thing is, we told everybody, make sure you have the right numbers. There was a young man who wore the wrong number, and he had a very good day. But he wasn't the young man's name that was coming out of Ellis Joshua's mouth during the telecast because he couldn't wear the right number. And he was a senior, by the way, senior in high school. Okay. So these are growth opportunities, parents. Okay. There was some kids that came over and, there was a position that was wrong. There was a jersey number that was wrong. There was a spelling that was wrong. And those kids handled it right away. Boom, on the computer. We fixed it. And it was wonderful because that warms my heart to see how these kids. It's funny. I talk about this all the time. Coaches are looking for people that are motivated, meaning they're self-sufficient. What does that mean?
Independent.
Exactly. Okay, if they can't get up to get to practice when they go to college, okay, because their parents aren't carrying their bag, stop that. You don't need to carry your kids' equipment. Okay, kids, stop looking at your parent. Come up, introduce yourself. Okay, we can do this. I know we can. The other question, okay, stats. Let's talk about stats. The LALJ is the only media source with caused turnovers and ground balls and face-off and goalies, okay? But we don't have any negative stats, none. No negative stats. We don't put turnovers up there. We put caused turnovers, but that's the defender or the midfielder or the attackman taking the ball away.
Right, but it won't highlight said person who committed the turnover.
Correct. Because we don't believe in promoting negativity. We want to promote positivity. Okay. But I don't have any parents calling me up and saying, you missed a caused turnover. My kid got stripped 4 times. But I do have parents calling me up saying you missed an assist or a goal. That's why we reached out, parents, for your assistance in keeping the stats. Because there are going to be stats that are missed. My kid played Division I lacrosse. He was an attackman. There were plenty of assists that were missed. I'm still here. He's still here. He's having a good life. His life hasn't changed. Okay? It's not a big deal. We do want to fix it. My suggestion is if it bothers your daughter or your son, have them shoot us an email or a DM and we will fix it. There was a young man who he missed some stats. He gave us the timestamp of the 3 assists and we switched it. The young man did it, not mama and dada. And that's how my grandchildren call their parents, mama and dada, because they're 4.5. Okay? I was lucky enough to go watch my 4.5-year-old play soccer a couple weeks ago when it was nice out. She's a little girl, and I said to her, you are such a good teammate. That's all I talked to her about. What a good teammate she was, because she was helping her friends and she was kicking the ball to her guy, and it's co-ed, guy and girls, and she was helping them because some of them didn't understand certain things. I didn't talk about how many goals she scored. I didn't talk about how many saves she made as a goalie. But when the coach asked who wants to play goalie and she jumped in, that's a good teammate. Let's raise good teammates. Trust me. There are plenty of these young ladies and young men out there that are good teammates that we're going to talk about. I'm going to mention one. She's committed, so she's done with the process. So if college coaches are listening to this, and I was talking to someone about this young lady, Reese King, okay, Westhampton kid going to UNC. I've never seen a kid with so much talent that plays lacrosse smiling. She's the happiest kid in the world, okay? And she's an amazing teammate, an amazing teammate. That's what you want. You want to raise a good kid, raise a good teammate, okay? And stop getting caught up in the bullshit, because it's all bullshit. All right? That's what college coaches are looking for. I just saw a social media post by the Vanderbilt baseball assistant. He went to the head coach sent him to watch a blue chip high school prospect. And when he came back, the head coach said to him, "Coach, what do you think of his talent?" He said he was unbelievable, coach. His talent was through the roof. He goes, if you had to rank him 1 to 100, 100 being the best, what would you give him? And he said, I'd give him a 0. He said, a 0? He said, yeah. He had an interaction with his mother. He was on the fence. His mom was giving him a Gatorade. She reached over this 7-foot fence to give him the Gatorade. And he took a sip of the Gatorade, never said thank you, never said please, and then he dropped the Gatorade. I wouldn't recruit that kid, no matter how much talent he has. If that doesn't tell you a little bit about what the world we should be raising, the children we should be raising, okay? And I apologize that we're starting off our podcast like this, but this is what's important, guys. So please take the time, use the word no, and use the word, I got one more thing, I'm sorry, and I forgot to tell you about this, Ellis. You sign up for this league, you sign up for anything in life, you show up. There was a team where 7 individual kids called the coach that day and on his way there that they couldn't make it. That's disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. And parents, we don't want your money. Okay? We want your kids. We want your good kids. We want kids who want to play. We want to promote kids who want to play. I got one more kid I want to talk about when we talk about good teammates. And Ellis has heard me talk about this young man for 3 or 4. God, he's a junior. So I saw him for the first time. I think he was in 8th grade. Ryan Chung, midfielder from Hills. Okay? That's a good teammate. What do you need me to do, coach? I don't care. You need me to face off? You need me to take a wing? You need me to pick up a ground ball? You need me to play defense? Ryan Chung from Hills, number 32. That's the kind of kid you want to raise. He picked up a ground ball and they scored a goal. It was so funny. I watched like maybe 10 minutes of lacrosse on Sunday and they scored. He fed it to a number 6. What's number 6's name? Bruno?
Yeah, you're talking about James Bruno.
Yeah, he fed it to Bruno and Bruno scored in their game, the Hills game. And I was like, he doesn't pick up that ground ball. They don't score that goal. And I talk about it all the time. Great teams have great teammates. Sometimes the great teammate doesn't even play. He's on the sideline or she's on the sideline getting the team rod up, getting them going, celebrating the successes. Remember, guys, only 12 playing girls and 10 playing boys, and they only rotate a few kids and girls and a few kids and boys. So what do you play, 16, 18 kids? Most of these rosters are what, 30 kids?
Yeah, got a lot of kids.
So you got to raise kids to be good teammates. And that helps. They're watching your kid on the sideline and how he or she reacts to the team's successes or failures. So allow this. Take it for whatever it's worth. I'm going to now turn the tide. I'm going to talk to my boy Ellis since he watched all of lacrosse. Let's start off. We're only going to talk about the girls' games now. Hopefully, let's start off with could be arguably the best game of the day was the 7 a.m. game, was the Westhampton Rocky Point game.
Yeah, that was. I mean, I don't think you could have started the day better than that game between Westhampton and Rocky Point. So a comeback win for Westhampton, down by as many as I believe 4 goals, and came back to win that one. You talked about Reese King as a person, and now talking about her as a player. She was instrumental in that comeback. Also, how about Lily Graves, Maya Farnan, of course, in the net. I thought Megan Tofano also played well for Westhampton, so a really nice comeback win for them. But also Rocky Point. How about the Moeller sisters, Kaylee and Mackenzie? They were both instrumental in Rocky Point really being able to build that lead in the first place. And then the play of Breezy Henke in the net kept Rocky Point in front in that first half. Of course, you got Kylie Lamoureux. She stepped up, made big plays as well. But I think that was really a great way to start the day between two of the teams that are going to be competing in Suffolk Class C in the spring season.
Yeah, you mentioned you thought Violet Freebody played well too, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, it's funny. That's one of the reasons why I think it's so instrumental that we work with the community, the lacrosse community and the high school community to get stats when the high school season starts of the ground balls and the caused turnovers and the draw controls. Because when the college coaches are coming to recruit these young ladies and young men, if they have this data, it helps them with the defensive players and the defensive midfielders and what we call the in-between the line players.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they might not be in the stat sheet in Newsday because they only do goals, assists, and saves. But at the end of the day, we want them, and obviously the college coaches are using our platform. We want them to have this information. So we'll talk more about that with the lacrosse public, how to get that information to us during the season so we can keep it updated. The other thing is, once the kid does commit to a university, the college coaches like to follow their recruits. So if they can see, oh, I just recruited, and we'll talk about this kid when we talk about the team, this defender, I want to see how she's doing or he's doing. Well, if they could see that the kid has 70 ground balls, and 25 caused turnovers, they can see how they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
So it's all part of the equation to help these kids and promote the kids. The next game was our first JV game. This is the first year we're doing the JV league. And we got YJ Duswalt, which are all 7th graders, playing against the Westhampton JV team, which are all pretty much 8th, 9th, and 10th graders.
Yeah, exactly.
So that wasn't much of a game, but, unfortunately, that's the way it is. We're going to talk about that, but it's an opportunity, obviously, for these girls to get out there, play a lot. There were some kids you mentioned to me from the Westhampton JV that impressed you.
Yeah, how about little Joe Derby? Thought she had a really good game. She scored 4 goals on the day. So Joe Derby, she had a really nice game. Also Lily Johnson, she was 3-2 as well. So really big and instrumental in Westhampton getting that win. Mia Mastro Piero as well for Westhampton's JV team. But really just like an all-around team effort for the Hurricane JV squad. So like you said, they were going up against YJ Duswalt, which is the 2029 club program. But I do just want to shout out from that team in the net for YJ Duswalt, Amelia Grasso. I mean, it's not easy going up against girls that are 2 and possibly 3 years older than you. And I thought she really played about as well as you possibly could, coming up with 6 saves, and she saw a total of about 15 shots. So, I mean, still to come up with 6 saves, like, even though it's a 40% rate, like going up against girls that are older than you, it's a tall order. So I just want to commend what she was able to do in the net for them.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, and just so you know, I think we mentioned it earlier. Every game, we're going to try to do a recap, and Ellis is going to do a write-up, and we're going to post some video of the game. So that's going to be put up on the LILJ site. We're hoping to have all the recaps up there tonight, which is, what are we at, Wednesday? We're working diligently about getting that done. And hopefully we'll have all the girls' games, and then we'll do the same thing for the boys' games on Friday from Sunday and tomorrow night. We'll have the boys' games up on Friday. So that's exciting. The third game of the day was a little surprising, but I did notice that Smithtown East was missing a ton of players. Bayport was missing a couple, but the machine, the Gitkin Maloney machine of Bayport is is in midseason form, huh?
Yeah, they were pretty much in cruise control. I mean, winning that game pretty handily. Of course, players that stepped up for them, Ava Mine, Aubrey Eisfeld. I thought Kayla Vasquez really you talked about earlier, Wink, like between the lines and like doing the little things that may or may not show up in the stat sheet. I thought Kayla Vasquez had a phenomenal game for Bayport. But but yeah, they just really, I mean, the engine just keeps on rolling for the Phantoms.
Yeah, I mean, I gotta tell you something. That I didn't see that game, but a video was posted from from on the LALJ. It was a Tyler Kresser special, and it was Aubrey Eisfeld doing her magic. And I gotta tell you something. That girl is, I mean, she is special. If I think she's going to be an unbelievable. I mean, she's already an unbelievable high school player. I think she's going to be an unbelievable college player. She's
Yeah.
heading to Syracuse. Mine is heading, and they were without Emma Brown, the Stanford commit, right?
Right.
And I think
Yeah.
there was who else wasn't there?
So they had no Emma Brown. I think they, for the most part, they had,
Was that their only big missing?
yeah, they had the vast majority of their players. Also, I thought Sarah Richard and Kaylee Bruckner, I thought they played very well, the two sophomores.
The two 26s who obviously are going to start their process. They already started it because obviously these kids in the fall are getting looked at. But Bruckner and Richard are probably their two top 26s, probably on that particular roster. That I mean, they got kids. I mean, I keep saying this. There's something in the water in Bayport when it comes to both boys and girls.
Yeah, they're both in contention, and I mean, it's not just lacrosse. Like you see what they're doing in other sports with them just winning in football. I know their baseball, I believe, is pretty good as well.
Didn't their
So
volleyball team do really
yeah,
well this year?
yep, volleyball.
Yeah, it starts from the top. I keep saying that. Everything starts from the top. You have great coaches. I mean, they have a great AD. Timmy Mullins is one of the great ADs out there. That's a community. You want to live in Southern Suffolk? Bayport's not a bad place to set up shop.
Not at all. Bayport or Blue Point. Get both
Yeah,
sides there.
yeah, and they have their own beer, which is pretty incredible.
Yeah,
Right?
pretty good, I must say.
Yeah, Baldwin doesn't have their own beer, do they?
No, no,
I don't think Huntington has their own beer.
not that I'm aware of.
Do you think we should start a beer? That's not a bad idea. Why don't we start it? All right, we'll move on to the next JV game. Bayport JV and Ward Melville JV, two powerhouse programs. What was that game like?
Yeah, so it was interesting because when we did like the pre-podcast talking about players that we expected to see a lot from, this girl definitely delivered for Bayport. That would be Olivia Brady. She was everywhere. Goals, ground balls, caused turnovers, you name it. And she was out there doing it. So I thought Olivia Brady really had a great opening game. Also, Eva Carvalho, she played well with a hat trick. Cameron Bruckner as well for Bayport's JV team had a couple goals.
Yeah, that's the second one, the second Bruckner.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she's an animal. She'll die on the field for a ground ball. Like that kid, if she doesn't get the ground ball, like don't come home for dinner. That's Bruckner. I'm not feeding you tonight. Yeah, I think mom was a big time gymnast. Mom, you could tell the mom and dad are both wonderful people, but you could tell that the competitive juices definitely coming from the mom side. I coached with Eric this summer. I love him. He's a great guy. Great guy. So now we move on, and we'll move on to anybody on Ward Melville JV and anybody that stood out, anybody that you said, wow, this kid's going to be that you could think of.
I'll say I liked Delaney Florio in the net. She had about 7 or 8 saves. Saw a ton of shots, so it was a tall order. But I thought Delaney Florio tried to hold it down as much as possible in the net for Ward Melville. And I know she's someone that she hasn't even been playing goalie for all that long. Couldn't be more than like a year, maybe a year and a half. So I'm still like relatively new to the position.
That's cool. That's cool. I like that. Yeah, that's a position we'll talk a little bit about that with another team. The next game I was looking forward to that game was the Sacred Heart Ward Melville varsities. What was that? What was that game like? Was that closer than the score?
Yeah, that was one of those games where you can't really look at the box score to kind of get the full picture of what took place. Because Sacred Heart, they actually had a lead in the first half for the majority, but Ward Melville, they came back and then really in the final 3 to 4 minutes added a string of goals, about maybe 3 or 4 goals to kind of break it open, but definitely more competitive than the final score would show. But for Ward Melville, Grace Balaka, the Nova commit, she had 5 on the day. So she really kind of got things going for them. But also Kate Spinks with a hat trick, MJ Timpanaro as well. One player that I feel like is always having an impact for them is Amelia Retzlaff, and she was just a beast, especially in the clear. So Ward Melville, they were really able to just kind of turn it on late and pull away in that one. But Sacred Heart still, the fact that they had a lead in that first half, they got really good games from Kaylee Fravert, the USC commit. I thought also Elizabeth Darcy, Sienna Prisco, they had some really nice plays for Sacred Heart, which got them the lead in the first place. And I know that they also had a few players that it seemed like were add-ons to their roster just right before the start of the Winter League, like the freshman Allie Reisner. It's great to see her out there playing for their varsity program.
Yeah, it's difficult with the Catholic schools because they don't know the kids yet. But it was good to see that they had a couple freshmen and sophomores that were playing with them. Obviously, St. Anthony's has a team in each grade, which I think is great because it gives them a good opportunity to see their kids. The next game was Garden City Tradition, which is a mixture of 25 and 26 kids, and against Connetquot. What was that game like?
Yeah, that was another really competitive game, and one where GC Tradition, they were able to squeak that one out by about 3 goals. But I thought the difference for them in that game was actually the goaltending. So you had Kira Desmond and then also Hayes Hassett. They both split the time, but between the two of them, so Desmond, she was 50% in saves, and then Hassett was at 62%. So
Wow.
you get goaltending like that, and you're gonna have a great chance to win a ton of games. So I thought really that was the difference for them. But I thought also Ava Borzelleri at attack was huge for them. I thought also Abby Wheeler, she had a couple plays where the game was actually tied, and she scored a goal to give them the lead, then had an interception on the clear and scored again just in a matter of seconds to put them up 2. So I thought that was also kind of a turning point in that game for Tradition. Also Sophie Diefel with a couple goals as well for them.
Any girls from Connecticut, step up?
Yeah, Connetquot, of course, Jamie Elliott, the junior going to Binghamton. She scored a couple goals in that game. Hayden Murphy as well, also with 2. So I thought that was important for the T-Birds. And then they also had the goalie split between Adriana Giametti and then Shannon Morley. The two of them, they split time. I thought in the ground ball department, defensively, Jana Weltner, I think she had a game high 4 ground balls in that one to lead everyone on both sides. So Weltner with the GBs made a difference in that one for the T-Birds.
That's it.